While the hurricane force winds have diminished, I want to stress that we are not out of the woods yet, not by a long shot.
Hurricane Harvey, now a tropical storm, continues to pummel areas of the southern coast with torrential rains. As we take this look at the devastation in Texas. In Houston, the nation's fourth largest city, thousands have already been forced to seek higher ground as floodwaters continue to rise. It's not expected to peak, though, until later this week. Now, dozens of personnel from the U.S. Coast Guard Great Lakes District are en route to Texas to help with rescue efforts. That includes at least 2 Coast Guard helicopters and a number of boats being shipped down to help. And joining us here in the studio now is Tony Lasher, Executive Director of the American Red Cross Central Bay Chapter. So we've actually seen similar devastation here in our area from the recent flooding. So what should people in Texas expect when they return to their homes?
Well, it's, it could be a wide ranging of things depending on the damage, whether it was just sustained to a basement or the whole house was destroyed. But they're really going to be facing months, if not years, of recovery. You look just basics, if your home is still intact, and we saw this a lot in Midland, Bay, Isabella counties, was just the muck that was left behind. You can imagine when the water starts to settle down, it leaves an enormous amount of sediment. Some of that can be toxic. So there's, they're going to be facing a lot of work in getting that cleaned up. Then moving from there, unfortunately, you can have mold in the walls, and there's going to be mitigation needed to get those mold and a lot of issues.
Long-term damage, yeah. So how can people here who are watching these images play out on their television screens, how can they help?
I think the biggest thing that people can do is make financial donations to a responding agency. So the Red Cross is one of many national and even local agencies that will be down there in Texas responding, trying to help people out, not just government agencies, but nonprofits, and they're going to sustain a significant amount of expenses. Just the Red Cross alone, we're expecting tens of millions of dollars in expenses for this operation. So making those donations to those responding agencies is the lifeblood of how we do our work. For the Red Cross, contacting 1-800-RED-CROSS, redcross.org, or texting Harvey to 90999 all those funds will go straight to the Red Cross's efforts.
So there are several ways that people at home can actually help out.
Absolutely.
Tony, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
All right, and you can help, as he just mentioned, by donating to the Red Cross. You'll find a link in the Monday Hot Link section of WNEM.com. And stay tuned for continuing coverage on Hurricane Harvey coming up on CBS Evening News. And I'm joined now by Chief Meteorologist Bryan Bachman. And so really it's only the beginning for what a tropical storm Harvey has in store for everybody, right?
It really is. And to think, we're approaching the 3-day mark. It was almost exactly 3 nights ago when the storm first made landfall, when it was still a Category 4 hurricane. We had the winds and all the storm surge up front. Now it's the fact that the storm is essentially stalled out and backed up to where it all began, and it just continues to dump and dump and dump all this rain. And it's, as we heard there before, just far from over. Still several more days of that to come. And here's a look at some of the totals that are already coming in. I mean, just unthinkable is the only word I can choose to really describe these. Now, these are the 72-hour rainfall totals coming out of the Houston National Weather Service office. Places like Dayton, Texas, which is in the vicinity of Houston, 39 3/4 inches of rain just in the past 72 hours. I mean, you think of the fact that our flooding, all that flooding we had back at the end of June, was caused by a little over 7 inches of rain. To think that they've gotten over 5 times that amount, just absolutely catastrophic. First Colony, a small town on the suburb that is on the southwest side of Houston, 36.34 inches of rain. Berry Bayou, also in the Houston area, over 34.5 inches of rain. And Houston proper at the airport coming in with 25 inches of rain. And on top of that, with Harvey still making very slow progress back out over the water and then set to do this loop back into Louisiana, we go out the next couple of days, Houston could still be looking at as much as 15.5 more inches of rain on top of what is already fallen. It would not be out of the question for parts of Texas, in and around the Houston and Galveston areas in particular, to wind up with storm totals, when this is all said and done, of 40 to 50 inches of rain. And just nowhere, of course, for that water to go. But even folks in parts of Louisiana, they may yet see another 4 to 5 to maybe even 6 inches of rain as Harvey finally gets on the move. Now, as of this evening, it's still a tropical storm with 45-mile-per-hour sustained winds, but compared to the flooding, the wind is almost a non-issue at this point. And we can see that slow progress, though, as Harvey's just going to kind of wiggle its way back out over the southeast coast of Texas before finally getting on the move. And by Thursday and Friday, the system will finally move out of the picture, but that's still 2 to 3 days out yet. So things, unfortunately, only going to be getting worse there before they start to get better. So our thoughts and prayers continue to be with the folks in Texas tonight. We wish them all the best and hope for their safety. As for